welcome to the webinar talking about our new discovery here in Nevada at Whitecaps, gold and antimony discovery. So I know most people will be familiar with G50 for our flagship project, Golconda in Arizona. And we've been quietly working away at Whitecaps in the background for the last few years as well. And we have concentrated mostly on Golconda because of the nature of its stage of discovery. And now we're through drill out phase. But Whitecaps has always been very important, very near and dear to us as well, and for G50 as a whole. It fits the very similar DNA of how G50 operates in North America. And so it's got significant amount of patented claims or private property and with a lot of unpatented claims as well. Okay, it's effectively been stuck in a time capsule for the last 50 or 60 years. And there's an opportunity for us at G50 to bring our knowledge and our operating skill sets and exploration skills to bear at Whitecaps. It's a historical high-grade gold mine back in the 50s and 60s. And for us, a lot of the historical operators here have chased the high grade at depth. And for us, we always thought there was a better opportunity for a broader halo, shallower and lower grade at surface. That'd be far more economic and to chase. And so there'd been very limited work done in that vein, looking at the broader opportunity. And that was something that we spent the last few years working on, bringing everything up to a 2025 standard. So geophysics, geochem, sampling, and mapping and logging and so on, digitizing in the model, coming up with a plan, a geological model to execute against, and then explore from there. So again, it shares a lot of the process of how we operate that led to the discovery at Golconda. And Whitecaps has been in the portfolio about 18 months, 2 years less time than Golconda, so it's at a different stage, but it's no less important to us. And we see the diversification in being two of the best states to operate in North America on private property is a real win and a real benefit for us. So Nevada's number 2 as a mining jurisdiction in the world, and Arizona's number 5. Okay, and so they're both world-class mining heritage, mining culture. We think the 2 best states to be in the US. So I'll quickly move on now and to introduce the discovery and the work we've done here. So we'd picked up a significant amount of historical drilling that had been completed by Freeport-McMoran in the early 80s. They were mostly chasing just the gold. And they've only assayed for gold. We knew there were significant other things in the system. And we saw that replicated in our rock chips, our soil sampling, a lot of the geophysics work we've done. More recently, our neighbours, Scorpio, have picked up the Manhattan project right next door. We share a claim boundary. They've picked up a lot of the historical work that previous owners of Manhattan had completed at the project, and they're rejuvenating their project as well. And so the 2 largest landholders in the area with Scorpio and G50, and we're both talking to district scale approach here and discovery potential. So just a quick zoom into where we are. So we're more in central southern Nevada. Okay, so this map's a little bit blurry. We need to fix this up. But to the north is Round Mountain. So that's operated by Kinross, one of their main producing mines, about 15, 20 kilometers from there as the crow flies. The Manhattan mine, which is owned by Scorpio, and then Whitecaps here. The blue is the patented claims, and the yellow outline is our unpatented claims. So again, not dissimilar to Golconda, close to infrastructure, power, water, mining community, and very supportive policies locally. So the thing that attracted us initially was this high-grade gold component to production in the early 1900s. So it produced roughly 120 to 150,000 ounces at roughly 30 grams, like an ounce gold. And it was a limestone unit that chased from surface and just followed it deeper. It never really been looked at as a more broader geological setting and this untested halo of what we'd call a lower grade component. We say lower grade because the historical mining at Whitecaps was so high grade that anything compared to 30 is kind of low grade. Just a reminder here, for most of the gold discoveries and gold production in Nevada is roughly that 0.4 to 0.5 gram. So anytime you're at 0.5 to 1, you're starting to reach into the realms of higher grade and above average ore body for Nevada. So that was kind of our broader target and opportunity. We saw in the historical work and logs that towards the bottom of the historical Whitecaps mine in a crosscut, they had 10 meters at 94 grams gold. That was probably a true width as well. Okay, so a lot of people have been focused on Whitecaps of chasing the depth potential, And again, we thought, let's get to that at a different point. Let's work on this halo opportunity first. We saw a lot of the antimony and arsenic and so on and thallium as pathfinders in our rock chips and soil sampling. So we kind of used those as pathfinders as vectors for chasing the grade here. But it turns out now we've hit a high grade vein within drilling, and now it means we have to sort of just tweak our model a little bit and start understanding more where the antimony is coming from and how we work that into the model. So it picked up the patented claims, the unpatented claims. The mineralization is in these structural intersections with the limestone unit. They average 20 meters thick. In some points, they're 30, 40, 50 meters. So nice, big, wide units for us to target. And they're stacked units as well. Again, high grade, the mining historically, running 33 to 79 grams. We see similar results in Scorpio's drilling as well, and I'll point to that towards the end of the presentation. Geology here is significant. The prospective geology, historical mining indicates that there's much more potential here. And so we see it as twofold. So a lower grade, inverted commas, shallow halo, and then test that deeper where the volume will come from. Zooming in now to the drilling results we've announced today. We drilled at the start of 2025, just after the winter was sort of finishing, and we got the results done. We had sent them off to ALS, and so they go off to Canada for assaying. And we weren't expecting to see a high-grade antimony, antimony part of the project and part of the drilling. So it had hit. We were slightly delayed in the assays. We hit limits in the QA/QC protocol. We'd pointed that in our last quarterly, talking to that we were just double checking results. We hit the over limit, and then we had to go back and reassay. The equivalent of the dog lost my homework. We're just tracking down the samples at ALS. By the time they got around to finding them, reassaying and getting the results back, we were kind of delayed in delivering this news to the market. So unfortunate for timing, but we thought it was without having relevant protocols in place and reassaying and just double checking, without having that perspective of the results and how it fits into the model, it kind of was hard to explain exactly the importance of it, and hence where we are at this point today. The things I'd point out is clearly the high grade nature of it, the consistency of it over a decent width, coming with the gold as well, 1.5, 1.6 grams of gold, and it clearly comes with some silver, quite shallow. Now, the other four holes hitting 0.5 to 1 grams over decent intercepts across the project here. Now, this is the first ever angled RC drilling program at the project. Okay, so Freeport drilled vertical holes only. We're not entirely sure what they were testing, but that was in the early 80s. We guessed they were looking for a large, low-grade sort of heap leach operation. And in the 80s, that was kind of all the rage in Nevada. They probably got results higher than they were expecting to look for, and for whatever reason, they didn't sort of follow up. And their loss is our gain. So again, 0.6 to a gram, 1.5 gram is unusual, especially seeing it in 5 of 12 holes, on the odds of probability, like that's pretty exciting. And we've mostly only concentrated on, that number one target there, which is what we call Whitecap Central. And you'll see 2 and 3 of the strike extension. We've got mapped limestone units at surface. Number 2 target is the extension across Whitecap Central. What we see there is a lot of pediment and cover, but in situ rock chips are high grade. There's a limestone unit beneath that. So we kind of see the consistency spread over this 2 kilometers of strike, and that's all on our patented claims. Exploration target 4 would be chasing the limestone unit as it dips back into the central part of the property. And so once we crack the code on this 2 kilometers by sort of 500 meters between 1, 2, and 3, then that allows us to test the depth extension. So, district scale, sizable opportunity here. So these were 12 only RC scout holes, and we've now got to come back with a core rig to define the gold and the antimony and then update the model from there. So very consistent 0.1s up to 12 grams, through all the drilling. Very exciting, like really exciting stuff. Just a nod now to some of the historical work we had done that we'd used to inform us of targeting for the 12 RC holes. And, when you're first ever, it's borderline between greenfields and brownfields exploration. So we kind of had to narrow down, choose a part, and then how that informs us on moving forward. So here we go. We announced this back in 2023. These are kind of the key Pathfinder elements you'd want to see in a unit like this. This is 216 odd rock chip samples. We've highlighted here everything plus a gram. And they're not just plus a gram, twos, fives, 70 grams, seven, fours. So, and they're kind of concentrated in this 1.5 kilometer sort of stretch, and then nudging up against this boundary with Scorpio gold here on our western boundary. So we see sort of 1 to 2 kilometer long anomaly here. You can see where we've got the mapped faults, we've got limestone units, and then it's complex in the sense of the geology, which is great, which is what you want to see. That then provides the opportunity for discovery, and it's just basically now defining where the faults cross the limestone unit and where the fluids have been allowed to sort of drop out with the gold and chase the high grade gold opportunity. Now we know that the antimony, it forms in like a black crystalline vein. We see it now in the logs. We can see it now when we're in it. And so while we've got lots of antimony at surface, again, using it as higher grade values for targeting, now we know we can track sort of feeder vein systems within the project. That allows us now to sort of go back and drill to target both gold. And we know when we hit antimony veining, we should hit the high grade gold as well. So it all forms part of the targeting process. This is probably now just a quick nod to our neighbours at Scorpio. So they announced back in about 2 weeks ago a maiden resource for their project. Now they picked up this project about 12, 18 months ago. They've effectively come in, and digitized all the historical data that they had, and then they've defined a maiden resource. They have been drilling for the last 12 months, and so the drilling that they've completed hasn't formed part of this resource, and so we expect that this will grow. They're very conservative gold assumptions, and they've also attracted significant interest from well-known investors. So Ross Beatty and Eric Sprott, they put a combined almost $8 million into Scorpio at the start of September. So if you want to sort of be in this part of the district, it's only really Scorpio or G50. They're operating great. They do a great job, very conservative. You can see that they're looking at roughly 750,000 ounces at 1.26 grams in this pit here, and then they've got historical resource estimated down here at the Jumbo and the Keystone. I'll see the insert here. This sort of spare space here in between the projects is basically our Whitecaps project. Okay. And so the red circles here on this slide is Scorpio's maiden resource in the top, and then historical resource there, and that red circle to the bottom. And then you kind of see for size and scale and completeness, the opportunity that Whitecaps presents for us. So the bulk of our drilling here is the middle of the project. That's where we will concentrate. And so you can kind of see here in the quotes from Scorpio, they're looking at district scale, multi-million ounce opportunity. We agree. The whole projects, both of them have been stuck in time capsules for 20, 30 years, and they probably haven't had that modern exploration that's been deserved here. So, when we bought Whitecaps in 2022, we were kind of looking at $1,600 gold price, and now it's closer to 3,700. So the opportunities become probably bigger and better in that time frame. We've done a lot of work behind the scenes to build up the model. That gives us a confidence now to plan sort of 2,000 meters of core drilling as support to get back in there, and we'd like to be doing that in the next sort of 4 to 6 weeks. The last month or so has been, defining the program, targeting how many holes, depth, and then what the follow-up looks like. And we're pretty close to locking a rig to be here before winter starts. It's our aim to be drilling at Whitecaps by the end of October, early November, and so far that looks to be on track. Just highlight here, so VP of Exploration at Scorpio, they talk about high-grade intervals in their project. They see 12 grams over 70 meters. So within that historic resource in the Manhattan. So we know that these systems do produce these outliers, but the very robust halo of 1 gram sort of ore body. I really, I implore you to go and have a look at the Scorpio work. It's a great document, very robust resource. They use a 0.3 cutoff, but even if they use a 1 gram cutoff, they've still got 500,000 ounces there in that main resource. So really robust, great work. And I think between the two of us, we're going to have a great opportunity unlocking like a serious multi-million ounce sort of potential here. So We're going to expand a bit more. Now we know through drilling, what the antimony looks like, the structures it forms in. So we've got some more sampling to do, probably at target 3 down the bottom end of the project. Some more intense mapping in and around what I would call the faults and that structure that controls the limestone unit, and then the core drilling program. So this doesn't take away our focus from Golconda. This has always been about having two major projects, two major focuses for us. They're in different stages of the discovery phase. But Whitecaps now is a bit like we did for Golconda and drilled and then had the discovery at Golconda in 2023. We knew we were close, that we had to update the model, geological model, come back and drill. The difference being we're not going to wait, as long a time to come back and test at Whitecaps because commodity prices are better, our geological understanding is better, and our peers in the area are also, working pretty hard at it as well. So, significant upside potential. A lot of this on private property, as I said. We don't have any major milestones of spending. We get to put all of our money in the ground at Whitecaps. We see it as a partnership with our vendors, and so they're very excited. They brought the project. We brought our IP and capital, and between the two of us, we think we're going to unlock seriously a lot of value here. So a lot of work to be done, but very excited. And like I said, our recent capital raising, we raised $10 million, before costs. We'd allocated about 10% of the budget to go towards Whitecaps anyway. And so I think the only thing that would change is that depending on exploration success at Whitecaps, as we get in through 2026, we'll tweak that. But the bulk of our funding still goes into Golconda, only because we're now past discovery. Golconda is more of a drill out phase of that discovery, and that heads towards MRE and study work, and quickly hot on the heels at Whitecaps. And then we expect that we'll be pressing the button on similar processes. So we're excited, and I hope you guys share our excitement as well. Diversification of sort of two great district scale opportunities, one discovery, one yet to be discovery at Whitecaps, but very close to being commercial discovery, and then similar DNA. We're going to work them up. The difference being now with the funding and with our knowledge and the acceptance of sort of precious metals and strategic minerals within the mainland US now and the lower 48, we see a lot of support for us to be aggressively drilling here, especially now with our knowledge of both projects. So between Golconda and Whitecaps, we're effectively now drilling every month now through to probably March or April. Nevada, where we are at Whitecaps, has altitude, so the winters can get a bit aggressive and you have to sort of down tools. Arizona is all-weather drilling all year round. So just to finish off, Golconda, the bulldozer arm turned up early this week, so he's been preparing roads, pads, and sumps for the diamond rig to turn up. We're expecting the rig to be there in the next week or so, and that starts then a 5,000-foot deeper testing of the Golconda project. Just a reminder, the discovery there of GRC 21 and 22, so that was a high-grade gold and silver with the gallium. Golconda drilling depth, we're testing depth extension, and then a lot of that core drilling we'll use to test sort of met testing, recovery assumptions, and then lead to an MRE in 2026 at some stage. So owning G50 gives you a foot in both camps, but what you're more buying into is a strong balance sheet, strong process, and then you've got leverage to district scale, discoveries in two fantastic states with a team that have effectively done it before. So I think on that, I might leave it and then just open the floor to some questions. There's a couple coming through now. Next for Golconda, I think I've just addressed, and then the Scorpio hole. So we don't have the exact depth of the Scorpio hole, but there's a lot of historic mining at Scorpio's Manhattan mine. So that operated through the 90s, early 2000s, whereas Whitecaps had basically stopped mining in the 50s and 60s. So if you can imagine that they're probably a bit more aggressively mining there. They took more of it out at surface. The remnants is still what they reported on. We think, a lot of what we see shallow is a lot of that upside and better volume and bigger opportunity for us. So understanding these units is really important, but structurally controlled. So once you're in it, you can get moving pretty quick. And so that's why we sort of measure twice, cut once leading into this. I mean, just having rock chips and soil samples and being within 100 k's of an operating mine is not good enough for us. And so I know probably a lot of our peers like that. But in the US, you only get one chance. You have to under promise and over deliver. And we've got really great opportunity here. We've made a discovery in Arizona. We think it's commercial. It will be commercial, and we're leading onto those study pathways. And then we believe Whitecaps is not far behind. Underlying value in both of their projects is precious metals. Okay. And so, as we've always said with the gallium, that will be a part of a broader holistic approach to mining, the precious metals. The antimony at Whitecaps will be the same. So gold is the main value proposition. I would suggest it carries 70, 80% of the economics here as well. And so it becomes now, for a smaller company like us at the moment, 2 kilometers of strike, shallower, broader halo of gold mineralization with the antimony to come along. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to monetize this project.